You ever had one of those moments where something feels off, like your gut is practically screaming at you, but you try to convince yourself you're just overthinking? That's exactly what happened to me one night. I was just trying to get home, and what started as a normal Uber ride turned into one of the scariest experiences of my life. It still gives me chills to think about, and honestly, I don't think I'll ever look at ride shares the same way again. Let me tell you what happened. I'll never forget this night. It was supposed to be so normal. I was coming back from a party, and it was late, like 1 a.m. I was exhausted and just wanted to get home. I ordered an Uber, and it pulled up within a few minutes. A black sedan, nothing weird. The guy even smiled when I got in and confirmed my name. At first, everything seemed fine. The GPS was on, and I was zoning out in the back seat. But after a while, I realized we weren't on the usual route to my place. I've taken that drive 100 times, and I knew it by heart. I think you missed a turn, I said, trying to keep my voice calm. He didn't respond. His eyes stayed glued to the road, like he didn't hear me. I leaned forward a little. Hey, is this the right way? This time, he glanced at me in the rearview mirror, but his expression was blank. No smile, no acknowledgement, just nothing. The car started heading down this narrow road, surrounded by trees. No streetlights, no houses. Just darkness. My stomach dropped. I didn't want to overreact, but everything in me was screaming to get out of that car. Listen, I think I'm going to get out here, I said, trying to sound casual. He didn't slow down. Instead, he locked the doors. I heard the click. I felt a full-body panic. My hands were shaking as I pulled out my phone to call someone, anyone. That's when he finally spoke. Put the phone away, he said, his voice completely flat. I didn't even think. I unlocked the door manually. It wasn't easy, but I did it. And as soon as we hit a curve where he slowed down, I threw the door open and jumped out. I hit the ground hard, scraped my hands and knees, but I didn't care. I ran straight into the woods and hid behind a tree, shaking, waiting to hear him come after me. But the car just sped off into the night. When I finally felt safe enough to check my phone, I saw that the ride had been canceled. By him ease. I reported it to Uber, but they said the driver's profile didn't match the guy who picked me up. To this day, I have no idea who he was or what he wanted, but I've never taken an Uber since. I was visiting a new city for a work trip, and after dinner I called an Uber to get back to my hotel. The car arrived quickly, a silver SUV, and the driver seemed friendly enough. He asked how my day was, the usual small talk. But then he started getting weirdly personal. You're staying at the Grandview Hotel, right? He asked. I froze. I hadn't told him where I was going yet. I checked my app to make sure I'd put it in, but I hadn't entered the destination. Yeah. How did you know that? I asked, trying to laugh it off. He smiled in the rear-view mirror. Lucky guess. I tried to brush it off, but something about his tone made me uneasy. As we drove, he started talking about things that felt too close to home. So, do you travel alone a lot? I lied and said, no, I'm meeting friends at the hotel. He nodded, but didn't seem convinced. Then he said, it must be nice to live on 3rd Street back home. Quiet neighborhood, right? My heart stopped. That was my actual street, my real address. I didn't even know how to respond. I forced a nervous laugh. He must have me confused with someone else. He didn't reply, just kept driving. At that point, I was gripping my phone so tightly my hands were sweating. When we got close to the hotel, I lied again and said, actually, can you drop me off at the Starbucks down the street? I'm meeting a coworker there. He didn't argue, but when I got out, he didn't drive away. He just sat there, watching me through the window. I ducked into the Starbucks, pretending to meet someone, and stayed there for over an hour. When I finally walked to my hotel, I kept looking over my shoulder, convinced he was following me. The next day, I contacted Uber, but they claimed the driver's profile didn't exist in their system. It was like he just vanished. I don't know how he knew all those things about me, and honestly, I don't want to. This happened a few months ago, and I still get chills thinking about it. I was running late for a late-night shift, so I called an Uber. When the car pulled up, it wasn't the one listed in the app. Instead of a white Honda, it was a dark blue sedan. I hesitated. The driver rolled down the window and said, "Hey, are you my name?" He looked normal enough, and I was in a hurry, so I got in. Big mistake. The second I shut the door, I noticed the smell. Something metallic, like old blood. I told myself I was imagining things and focused on my phone, but then I realized something even creepier. The GPS wasn't on. "Hey, aren't you using the app's directions?" I asked. "Don't worry," he said, smiling. I know a faster way. My stomach dropped. I opened the app and saw that the ride hadn't even started. My destination wasn't logged in. "You need to turn around," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. He didn't reply. I felt like I was in a nightmare. I texted my friend, sharing my location, and wrote, "If something happens, call the police." Then I said loudly, "My friend's tracking me, by the way." That's when he finally spoke again. But his voice was low and angry. "You shouldn't have gotten in this car." I panicked and grabbed the door handle, but it was locked. I started screaming, pounding on the window, and finally, he pulled over and yelled, "Get out!" I didn't waste a second. I ran as fast as I could until I found a gas station and called for help. When I reported it to Uber, they said the license plate didn't match any of their registered drivers. I have no idea who that guy was or what he planned to do, but I'm so glad I got out of there when I did. I still can't shake the feeling I got that night, and honestly, I don't think I ever will. Moments like that remind you to trust your instincts because they might just save your life. If you've ever had something like this happen, let me know. I'd love to hear your story. And if you want to hear more like this, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications. Stay safe, stay sharp, and I'll catch you in the next one.